is cosplay? Cosplay is a mix between wearing a costume and acting out as the character. The costumes are typically based off of characters from movies, shows, books, games, and so on, or an original character design. There are many different types or ways to cosplay, such as a character with a simple design of just clothes, to a full suit of armor, to full monster suits, and all the way to giant robots. I personally really enjoy cosplaying as I feel it puts me into a sort of fantasy world. To me, there's nothing more exciting than nearing the end of a project and finally wearing what you spent so much time on out into public and getting responses from the people. The very first costume I completed was a simple pirate costume that I made from clothing gathered mostly at thrift stores, and I decided to have some fun and wear it out into public, and I got a lot of good responses. A lot of people wanted to take pictures and told me they loved the costume. One way to begin cosplaying is to buy a costume online, which can be kind of expensive, with it typically being around $100, but it can be so worth it to begin with. And what I would suggest to do would be to go to YouTube or something and look up the character you want and cosplay reviews. That way you can see what websites sell good quality costumes and watch several reviews on that one costume. Now let's talk about actually making a costume. So making a costume can be kind of difficult, but as long as you can imagine how different pieces may work together, it'll make it a bit easier. Like I said previously, I just put together clothing I got from a thrift store, which that's completely fine, but for the more advanced costumes that have a lot more detail, such as armor pieces, you're gonna want to make a pattern. This can be done by cutting paper into the shape that you want, and if it's something 3D, then you can tape it together to get the rough shape. And once you're satisfied with the shape, you can copy it onto your material. Another way is, if you want it to fit you perfectly, is to cover yourself in plastic wrap where you want the piece to be, and then cover that in duct tape. And then you can draw your design or shape you want on the duct tape and carefully cut it off of you, which will give you an exact copy of what you want. You then press flat the duct tape and cut it into smaller pieces until everything sits flat. And once you have all the pieces, just copy them onto your material with registration marks. A registration mark is a simple mark on the pattern pieces that are cut to separate that line them up so that when you glue it together, it'll line up properly. And now we move on to talking about materials. There are several different types of materials you can use, such as EVA foam, which is soft, lightweight, and one of the best materials to make costumes out of. You can cut it easily, sand it easily. You can heat form it, which means to heat it up and then shape it to any form that you like. Along with EVA foam is foam clay, which is an airy type of clay that will adhere to the foam using only water and can be sculpted just like regular clay. Once it's dry, it'll have a rubbery texture and will be just as light as regular foam. They can both be very easily sanded by a hand or a Dremel. Another material is Warbler, which is the type of thermoplastic, which means it can be heated up and shaped however you'd like and will adhere to itself using just the heat. Another option is to use cardboard if you want to go a bit cheaper. You can cut out your shape on cardboard, glue it together, and then put paper mache on top. Paper mache is just a mixture of paper and toilet paper being glued on top of each other. To begin, you'll need to mix equal parts water and white glue, which then you'll just layer your paper with glue together, let that dry, and then put some layers of toilet paper on, which toilet paper can take around 24 hours to dry, but you can use a heat gun to speed it up. Another way is, of course, sewing your own costume, which I'm not good at, but I'll get there one day. And another is to 3D print, which also have not done, but one day. Now on to the adhesive part. We have hot glue, which I don't think I need to go over. Super glue, also don't think I need to go over. And contact cement. Contact cement is, you've probably not heard of it before, but it's pretty much like super glue, but instead of just putting it on the surface and putting them together, you have to put it on both surfaces, let it get tacky, or until it's still kind of sticky to the touch, but not wet. And then you very slowly press them together, and the more pressure you put on them, the better they adhere together. And then we also have attachments to talk about, where you can use Velcro, elastic, zippers, magnets, or just literally whatever you can come up with. After you are done with the piece you're working on, what's left to do is prime it and paint it. You could go straight into painting, but it's better to prime it first. You especially need to do it with foam though, because the foam will soak up your paint and it won't look right. So priming will also help to protect against cracking and creasing. So if your foam piece was to get bent, you could heat it up, it would look perfectly fine. And to prime, all you would need to do is coat your piece in multiple layers of white glue, wood glue, or the best is Plastidip, which is just spray on rubber. You just do a couple layers and then you can paint. And with all those materials and the size of some costumes, it sadly can get pretty costly. Most costumes can range to $100 or above. My current costume ranges around $150. And they get costly with time too. It took me over 200 hours to make my costume. But with all the money that you put into a costume, you can get money out of it too. A lot of cosplayers will use social media such as YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, so on, to upload videos of their work, or even tutorials to get money. Others have been reached out to by a game company or a movie company or similar, and have been asked to make a costume or prop for a convention, and they get paid to do so. Another way is to go to conventions and win cosplay contests, or to get professionally photographed and print out and sell those pictures. Another way is to start a shop online and sell pattern pieces or even just your own costumes. Some people have made cosplay their full-time job. There are some people I would like to mention that have helped me get to where I am today. My favorite cosplayer of all time is Kamui Cosplay. She is one of the best cosplayers in my opinion. She does so many tutorials, sells so many books, patterns, anything you'd need to help you get started. She does such good cosplays, and it takes her so much time. Another I would like to talk about is Thomas DiPatrio, which I hope I said that right, who makes these really big, good costumes. One of my favorites being his giant Hulkbuster suit from the second Avengers movie. That costume weighs 95 pounds, stands 9.5 feet tall, and took over 1,600 hours over a span of 2 years. And I don't even know how much it cost, but I'd say a lot. In the end, it's a really fun hobby that can make everyone's lives a lot better, and it's not too hard to get into. Your costumes may not look the best at first, but you will gradually improve over time, especially if you look at the people I list, because they help me so much. And I think that's all I have to talk about for now. Thank you so much for watching.
When I get into this suit, it's going to make me feel alive in a way that very rarely you get to feel in real life, because normally one has your ordinary job, whether or not you're a gas station attendant, a pizza delivery guy, or a stockbroker. You have got an ordinary life, and then sometimes you get to play to be the A-list star. For brief windows of time, you get to be the star of the show. And when I go to a place like New York Comic Con, for a brief window, for just a few days, I get to be a star too.